Welcome to the Business of Travel, the official podcast of the Global Business Travel Association. I am Navodit, Hospitality Cloud Leader for APAC at Cvent, a member of GBTA APAC M&E Leadership Committee, and your host for today's inaugural GBTA APAC MICE Power Talk series. The Power Talk series brings together industry leaders across Asia Pacific to discuss destination, strategy, sustainability, innovation, and the future of MICE. This series is about clarity. It's about competitiveness. It's about how Asia Pacific shapes the next era of global business events. We begin with our first episode with Singapore. And joining us today is Carrie Kwik, Executive Director, Conventions, Meetings, and Incentive Travel at the Singapore Tourism Board. With decades shaping Singapore's MICE strategy, Carrie has helped define what destination leadership looks like in our region. Carrie, welcome to the GBTA MICE Power Talks.
Thank you, Navodit. It's a pleasure to be part of this inaugural podcast.
Thank you, Carrie. And Carrie, to begin, could you briefly share your role at STB and what sits at the core of your mandate today?
My team and I look at ways to support the Tourism Board's vision of driving quality tourism. This means bringing forth tourism concepts and experiences, including business events, that will strengthen Singapore's position as a world-class destination and generate economic value by supporting our local businesses and community.
Okay. So you've had a front row seat to Singapore's MICE evolution. Now, what has personally shaped your leadership perspective in developing this sector?
Well, I think the context is that, first of all, we announced last year at our tourism industry conference that Singapore has ambitions to triple our MICE contribution to tourism receipts to 4.5 billion Singapore dollars by 2040. This is set against the backdrop of strong long-term growth projected for the MICE industry in the Asia Pacific region. And with this very clear direction for the future, we have been able to galvanize our tourism industry partners and stakeholders to work closely with them in a very collaborative manner. And this has been very important as we know we cannot do things alone. And in a volatile world, it is even more important to have strong relationships and partnerships with both local and international stakeholders. This helps us to be very focused, and we have been successful in retaining our destination accolades, which include being third on ICA's worldwide city rankings in 2024 and also ranked second in the Asia Pacific for the 2025 Global Destination Sustainability Index.
That's incredible, Carrie, and what a great showcase to the regional tourism industry, how Singapore is leading from the front. Now, from the vantage point, how do you define Singapore's role today in the global and Asia Pacific MICE ecosystem?
Well, first of all, Singapore is situated at the crossroads of East and West, and we continue to serve as a gateway for international business in this dynamic region. We are connected to over 160 cities these days, to about 50 countries, and many of our events draw attendees and exhibitors from across the region. So our world-class air connectivity and strategic location allow us to be a natural point for convening people, ideas, and capital. And this helps to provide a compelling proposition to our meeting planners year after year. I think one thing that's been very important is also the announcement of Changi Airport's Terminal 5 expansion to grow its passenger capacity by another 50% by mid-2030s, as well as the launch of new attractions and experiences, because this all helps to refresh Singapore's landscape and it differentiates us amongst the growing global competition. I think one more point that I would like to bring up is also that we continue to be host to many regional headquarters. There are over 4,000 headquarters based in Singapore, and these help to drive the flow of people who use Singapore as a hub for their business, networking, and meetings. And because Singapore is generally visa-free for many countries, the events here held constantly draw strong international participation with a particularly robust representation across the Asia Pacific region.
Well, Singapore's positioning, as you rightly said, as a global Asian node strategically located at the crossroads of the East and the West, this continues to make Singapore a gateway for international business engagement across the region. Now, in our next segment, Carrie, I think will be a little interesting for our listeners, and we would like to know the person behind such great, massive portfolio that you manage today. Now, we would like to know outside of work, Carrie, how do you unwind after the full week of decision making and stakeholder conversations?
Well, I think like most of us, I enjoy the quality time with my friends, family. And I guess it's an occupational hazard, but I like checking out new attractions in Singapore, especially the nature related ones like Mandai, Gardens by the Bay. We also have a lot of beautiful local parks. And I think just walking around, helps me to decompress.
Well, that's lovely, and thanks for sharing a beautiful side from your perspective. So, another side is like, and this would give more insights to our viewers about the kind of person you are as you manage this great destination. So when it comes to like agendas, so do you prefer sharp structured agendas, or you like more free flowing discussions when it comes to meetings?
I think I do. I must say, I do like sharp agendas to help to guide the meetings along. But I think the spontaneous conversations, need to also come with this, which means that I really prefer face to face meetings. So I would say that it is a bit of a combination of both. Yes.
Absolutely, and nothing beats in person meetings, isn't it?
Yeah, that's for
So
sure.
so if I have to pick one thing, like if that's what's that one thing about Singapore that you have to pick, or the MICE industry that still genuinely excites or surprises you?
I think it's something that has been mentioned to me by many of my visitors. It's really that Singapore continues to surprise them. We continuously innovate. Things never really stay the same. So this is refreshing for them, and for me as well. I mean, for me, if you don't know, I was based overseas for a few years, and whenever I came back to Singapore, even after being away for let's say 6 months and then coming back, I get lost. The roads are different, and I hear about new restaurants and new things being provided, new experiences. So I think that says a lot for Singapore as well as our stakeholder partners. Yes.
Well, well, thank you, Carrie, for being a great sport. Now, let's talk a little bit about the current landscape of Singapore today. Now, how do you describe Singapore's MICE positioning today, especially as organizers reaccess destinations post pandemic?
Beyond our excellent infrastructure, Singapore continuously advocates our proposition as a destination for its safety, reliability, pro-business environment, sustainability, and innovation. Particularly post-pandemic, I think organizers are even more discerning, and frankly, that plays to our strengths. Our value proposition has remained compelling precisely because we have world class infrastructure, strong governance, also a stellar track record for delivering positive business outcomes for our business partners and event organizers. So while the landscape is competitive, we know that organizers are looking for destinations they can trust to deliver. And our reputation as a trusted business partner with deep experience is something that we are immensely proud of here.
Yeah. So you mentioned trust and reliability, and in a time where planners are more discerning, cost conscious, and confirming later than ever, that kind of reputation indeed matters deeply. And so here, what are the utmost significant shifts that you're seeing in organizer and delegate expectations that is beyond attendance numbers?
Mhm. Definitely, organizers are focusing on value, meaning a deep emphasis on experience quality, destination sustainability credentials, as well as measurable outcomes. And they want destinations that offer not just venues, but the entire ecosystems, access to industries, innovation, networks that extend the value of the events beyond just the conference room. So in Singapore, we are able to execute events efficiently and to help to plan and deliver a world-class project due to our strong connections, both amongst the various government agencies working together cohesively, as well as through public-private sector coordination. And I think this is something that is increasingly important to the organizer.
Okay. So you've highlighted
Yeah.
experience quality, sustainability credentials, and measurable outcomes. Now, for the planners who are listening to this conversation, what would be your practical advice? When should they engage with STB during sourcing?
Of course, if you ask me, the sooner the better. We are very happy to actually welcome conversations from early stages of planning. We have, both financial and non-financial ways to support the delivery of a successful business event. So I think the sooner that we engage in conversations, it allows us to help to provide, some significant support options.
Gotcha. So that emphasis on early collaboration and ecosystem support is incredibly valuable for our audiences across Asia Pacific. Now let's zoom
Yes.
out a little long-term horizon. And we talk about Singapore tourism's 2040 vision, which is like bold and long-term. Where does MICE sit within this strategy, and why it is so critical for Singapore's future?
MICE is extremely critical because it represents high value tourism. When we talked about tripling MICE contribution to 4.5 billion by 2014, we're not just talking about economic impact, but it's also about positioning Singapore as a destination where business gets done and where our industries converge and future conversations that help to shape the world. So MICE delegates deliver that exceptional value through higher spending power. We also feel they have the tendency to return with their families subsequently for leisure trips. And this effectively grows our tourism revenue from this premium visitor segment.
Yeah. So there's definitely what we can see is an increasing emphasis on value creation over volume. And here I would like to ask you, what does high value mice practically mean for Singapore?
To us, high value MICE means attracting events that attract high delegate spend. MICE visitors typically spend 2 to 3 times more per day on accommodation, their F&B, or other ancillary services. They might also extend their stay after the event has ended, choosing good premium accommodation, which all means higher revenue per visitor. So, to continue attracting such high value visitors, events must create a lasting impact beyond their duration. So, for us, it's really about attracting conferences and meetings that bring together industry leaders, events that drive innovation and create business connections, and really position Singapore as a thought leadership hub in key sectors. So, we're building a robust pipeline that leverages such vibrant industries from advanced manufacturing to healthcare to technology.
Well, that's very well summed up, Carrie. Now, it's about attracting events that don't just fill venues, but really shape the industries and create a longer term impact. And talking about this impact, now we know that sustainability has clearly evolved from a differentiator to a baseline expectation. What are your views here? How Singapore has embedded this into its MICE strategy today?
Thank you. Well, sustainability is really integrated into the Tourism 2040 roadmap as well through a very holistic approach that encompasses economic, environmental, social aspects of sustainable development. From an economic perspective, our tourism strategy ensures that the tourism businesses are resilient and experiences are compelling because we need to attract our target segments for its long-term growth. We also critically recognize the importance of industry development and training, and thus raising the capabilities of our MICE workers is also a pillar of our Tourism 2040 strategy. And we have been working closely with our MICE Industry Association, SASIOS, on various initiatives, one of which is a MICE Sustainability Certification Framework, which has been successfully rolled out. And so now Singapore is certified as a sustainable destination in terms of having all our 6 purpose-built MICE venues, including Marina Bay Sands and Resorts World Sentosa, being certified sustainable. And over 80% of SASIO's members, who are made up of MICE suppliers and vendors, have also received certification, such as like our hotels. Park Royal Collection Marina Bay, for example, has solar powered facilities and farm to table experiences. So these help in our sustainability credentials for our destination.
Well, that's impressive, Carrie. Now, you mentioned about Marina Bay Sands, Resorts World Sentosa, and Park Royal Collection Marina Bay, highlighting responsible event delivery. However, beyond sustainability, this growing focus on event legacy. Now, how does Singapore Tourism Board think about this long-term impact for communities, industries, and the talent?
Well, we recognize that truly impactful events need to extend far beyond their duration, and creating lasting value for communities and industries, and also to engender talent development. I would say that we are still building up in this area. But it's something that it's critically important and it is a focus and priority for us. We have started with the development of a legacy toolkit. We launched this in 2024. And this toolkit goes beyond just standard sustainability advice. It helps to provide our meeting planners with some frameworks to understand, plan, and implement some legacy outcomes. This means that we want to work collaboratively with all our meeting planners to shape the specific legacy they want to achieve through dedicated planning sessions. So we would, for example, help to identify opportunities that align with their organizational values and Singapore's broader sustainability goals. Perhaps I can just cite one example if you don't mind giving me a bit of time. The
Sure.
World Chef Congress and Expo, which was held in 2024. This is an event organized by the World Association of Chefs and Singapore Chefs Association, and it drew 900 attendees from over 5 continents. The Congress's dedication to doing something for community service was enabled with working through the National Kidney Foundation's fundraising dinner. This was organized in collaboration with World Chef Without Borders. And the funds that were raised, which was almost Singapore dollars 1.8 million, went towards providing life-saving dialysis treatments and holistic care for over 5,700 kidney failure patients in Singapore. So this is something that I think is an excellent example of what we want to continue to do and work with more and more event organizers and meeting planners for future.
Well, that's incredible and inspirational, Gary. Thanks for sharing. Now, the legacy toolkit and the initiatives that you shared, something like World Chefs Congress fundraising, it's an example to illustrate how business events can create, measurable societal benefit beyond their duration. So, finally, Carrie, we come to the end of this podcast, and I would like to ask a final question. Like when you think about Singapore's MICE identity in 2040, what do you hope it will be known for globally?
Um, I think that when planners bring their events to Singapore, they're really tapping into a very carefully cultivated ecosystem that Singapore has built deliberately, but which also creates unique experiences and content. And allows their delegates to connect with opportunities that they can't simply access elsewhere. So that's one thing. The other one, to me personally, is that we are creating lasting benefits for our local community. Because MICE meetings allow the interaction of our local residents with people from different backgrounds, different cultures. And this is really invaluable because it promotes understanding and appreciation of the similarities and differences and different perspectives of people around the world. So, really, my hope for 2040 is that Singapore continues to remain synonymous with quality meetings, a trusted destination where we can have global professionals gather effectively and safely and drive impactful value-driven discussions that shape industries and, more importantly, forge, long-term partnerships. Yes, that's what I hope for.
Thank you, Carrie. And that's really powerful. And Singapore, without a doubt, is indeed a trusted global Asia hub, a destination which is synonymous with sustainability, innovation, accessibility, and safety, a place where meetings become catalysts for meaningful and lasting impact. Carrie, a big thank you for your leadership that you have demonstrated in shaping Singapore's MICE narrative and for setting the tone for this inaugural episode of GBTA's APAC MICE Power Talk series. It was really exciting and interesting talking to you today.
No, thank you so much, Navodit. It's really been a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So, friends, you've been listening to The Business of Travel, the official podcast of the Global Business Travel Association, the GBTA APAC MICE Power Talk series featuring Singapore Tourism Board's vision. For more information about GBTA and its work, visit gbta.org and be sure to rate and review us whenever you get your podcast. Until next time, thanks for listening.